Okay, sir. Yeah, live. You can start, sir.
Yeah. A very good evening, members. I welcome you all for the virtual CB program on recent case laws on GST by CA Venkat Prasad. It gives me pleasure to introduce our own CA Venkat Prasad. He is from my own place. I can say he's part of our Guntur and Guntur branch. He qualified in CA and completed his long graduation from Usman University. He appears before Customs and Excise and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal and various tax authorities. He is a faculty of ICAI, NEACN, is a training wing of Central GST and NIMSME, and has given lectures at various other trade and professional forums. He is a member and active participant of GST Study Circle at ICAI Hyderabad branch. Is an active contributor of articles to ICAI Hyderabad monthly newsletters, GST law firms, Tax Guru, TMI, and CA Club India and other professional forums. He is part of various books written on service tax and GST. With this brief, I introduce Venkat Prasad to this August forum, and I request the speaker to answer all the queries raised by our members in the end. Thank you, Prasad Garu. Thank you very much. Now the session is yours, sir.
Thank you, Subbarao Garu. So I feel very happy when our own native place senior member and the 2 years is the elected member of SIRC, so is introducing. So I'm very thankful to you, sir. Last time also you introduced us. Very thankful. Yeah. I welcome all the participants for this today virtual meeting. So I will be sharing the screen. 1 second. Yeah, hope my screen is visible now. Screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yeah. So today we'll be covering the recent and important case laws under the GST. So my presentation would be limited to the recent and important, not every case, because there will be a lot of cases every day or every week we will be seeing. But today my presentation is limited to the very important and which are have a common importance, and also which are of recent, because now 5 years of GST there are some old cases I have not taken up in the interest of time, because people would have been knowing that by this time. So if at all any judgments I missed it, you can ask me. I'll try to cover it up. So as far as before I start my presentation on the whatever the important case laws, as I was saying, I have taken recent means the last 2 years cases were taken, and any omission or any important case law which any participant feel that I missed out in my presentation, you can please bring it to my notice. If whatever my memory permits, I'll try to give my comments. And also that case law reading is also important to understand what is the exact facts and what are the legal provisions at that time, and there may be some subsequent amendments, subsequent things. So that also may have to be considered while discussing. However, because in this given time of 3 years, I cannot explain complete facts and complete legal arguments, legal position, and all that. So I'll try to cover as simple as to cover at the same time to limit the presentation. Any elaboration, any case, if you want me to do, I'm happy to do that. But I request any participant, whoever wants to me elaborate any case, specific case, better way, or else in a more detailed way, they can ask me. I'll try to cover it up. But in the normal course, I will be trying to give the background of the case and the gist in issue of relevant issue involved, and what is the outcome of the judgment, and what are the subsequent development that had happened in the law as well as the practice. So followed by it is also important that any application of any judgment, it all depends on the text and context of case. So what is the facts and legal provisions of that particular case and our present case. So thereby, wherever you see any case law in my presentation today and tomorrow when you are applying also, please carefully see the complete facts and the relevant provisions at that time and relevant provisions now, and also that comparative reading you do and consequences also you may have to consider. So though I'm just cautioning that don't just go by the one-liners what was there in the presentation. We do complete homework before we take any decision based on this case laws. And also it is also important that future developments of the case laws is also important. For example, today there is some case and later that was either overturned by the Supreme Court or other High Court, or else government themselves have come down and they did some amendments. That is also important to consider. And I think I assume people knows this how bad this advance ruling orders as well as appellate advance ruling orders, because most of them are revenue favor. It is like adverse rulings popularly known as. So I am not considered because that will disturb the flow as well as that disturbs the settled principles under the GST or else the tax law or the pre-GST laws. So I did not consider that. And also it is also important to as I was saying, any once again any reliance be carefully done and don't just go by the one or two lines in the heading of the case law. Hello, I think my screen has gone. It has come
It's
now.
visible, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay.
Introduction part is visible. Yeah.
Yeah. So then few more important points, principles I would like to brief to all of the participants today is that what is the importance and what is the relevance of any judgments when we are fighting or when you are making some interpretation or when we are deciding any point, or else when you are taking any particular complaints or stand on the complaints side or in the some legal position. For example, we are representing a matter before authorities, or we are taking a decision whether to take credit or not, or whether you are taking a decision what is the rate to be applied or how this valuation has to be arrived, all that. So this importance, how what is the importance relevance of the decisions, whereas case laws is I try to put it up. Basically this goes on a basically two principles. One is on the judicial discipline principle, which requires that the higher appellate authority orders, that means higher authorities orders should be followed by the subordinate authorities without any reservation, and they can't simply claim that the higher authority order I am not accepting. This is practice. This is frequent answer by the every department. They say, sir, there is some high court decision. They keep saying, no, 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 I am not accepting high court decision. We're going to Supreme Court, so I don't follow. But legally they can't say unless it was stayed by the or reversed by the Supreme Court, the High Court decision they have to follow. They should not say that I am not accepting that decision. They don't have that right of accepting. Only thing is they have to go for appeal. For that matter, once Supreme Court says unless it is overturned by the government, nullified by the government by a retrospective amendment and all that, but it still binds. So thereby, so this is the one of the important pillar of this case law's importance and relevance is that this is a principle of judicial discipline, which requires that all authorities have to follow the all subordinate authorities have to follow the orders of higher authorities. So there is a lot of judicial indiscipline you may see in your day-to-day complaints or day-to-day interaction with the officers. They keep saying that the matter is in Supreme Court, so I don't follow, or else I am not so and so points or not considered by Supreme Court, so I don't follow. All that doesn't work. Once court said yes, it is yes. If there is some defect, that has to be nullified by filing either review petition, or it has to be nullified by the higher forum or the higher bench of that particular forum. For example, if Supreme Court two-member bench has two-judge bench has given a decision, even there is some lacuna in the decision making or decision, then unless it is nullified by the larger bench of three or more, then still have a binding effect. Similarly, when High Court says something, that has to be followed unless it is either stayed by the Supreme Court or it was reversed by the Supreme Court. So this is one of the pillar of the judicial disciplines to be followed while deciding whether particular case law has to be followed or not. Another important principle is also that it is not that in routine matter you keep going to the same court and say that the past decision what was held by particular high court or particular court, it is not correct because of so and so defect. If that is the case, every court will every decision will have some defects in due respect to the courts. So that is where that courts have told, unless there is a larger public good or compelling reason, court must endeavor to maintain consistency, certainty, and continuity in the interpretation of the law in the country. This is what held by the Supreme Court, 7th Judge Constitutional Bench of Supreme Court in case of Keshav Mills. Long back they were told, and which is being followed. So this is principle is called principle of state decisis. That means before reviewing or revising earlier decision, court should ensure that if it is revision or reviewed, so whether it will serve the larger public good or not. So that is also important to maintain that consistency and certainty and continuity in the country. And is also important, it is not that whatever we feel it is applicable to a case may not be applicable once it is interpreted by the court in different way. So that is what I was emphasizing on the fact that whenever you rely on any case law either for decision making process or while arguing any case before the authorities, you please ensure that every facts related to the case and their case is relevant and similar, or at least the legal provisions which are there, the interpretation or the consequences will be same. Without that, you can't simply rely and say that so and so high court, so and so judgment they have told ITC on the so and so expenses is eligible. They would have given some reasons while making the decision. So that reasons are the important to say that because of this reason, High Court has told that I am eligible for the credit. Should explain the same reason will apply to me. Suppose they say that if the particular expenses that suppose there is a motor vehicle which was arranged to the company employees as a part of statutory obligation to arrange the cabs in the night time for women working women staff. So that is statutory mandate. Some high courts have told that before GST itself, they told that if it is statutory mandate, it will not be personal use and you are have to give the credit. In all those cases, so when you are saying, don't just take the conclusion of the court decision and say that they said credit on the cab rental is eligible, so you give me the credit. Because the reason what they have given by court is because it is statutory mandate in that case, they should be given credit. So we have to show that it is also in our case that statutory provisions are applicable to us, and so and so government order or so and so notification or so and so law requires me to follow that judicial statutory requirement. Hence, this case will apply to me. Likewise, whenever we are relying on any case law, it is also important to explain the relevance and also the similarity. We should not blindly refer some case law and ask for relief. So these initial points what we have to remember whenever we are dealing with case law. And I would like to also explain before we get into case law why these case laws will be developed in a period of time, why disputes will keep coming. Of course, most of the people can guess this is not a big science. So there is always there is a the main underlying point is for the dispute is that there is a reconciliation of two different minds and perceptions, because the department person is always trying to collect more and more revenue to the government, whereas in the state tax whereas in the status of taxpayer is always trying to minimize the tax. It is not evasion of tax. Days are gone where people are thinking of evading tax and avoiding paying tax. I think maturity has come to the at least business community to pay tax, but they can plan it. They can economically they can minimize the impact with the whatever the permitted or four corners of the law. They can do it. That planning is allowed. So that is where the real problem comes, when the one side they want to collect more and more and revenue some or other way. The other side wants to minimize or save the more and more tax. So thereby, so there is always completely opposite perception and the way of looking at the things. Any interpretation of the provision also will be like that, because the provisions will be interpreted in their perceptions, in their benefit. So this would lead to the lot of disputes. This is the main reason or common cause for the dispute at anywhere, not only in tax law, in any aspect. be it a property dispute, be it a business dispute, be it any personal disputes, is always the difference of perception and difference of way of looking at the things. So that is where the common problem. So when we are discussing with department also, we should appreciate their mindset and their thought process. It is not that only taxpayers always right. It is also important that sometimes department may be also right in their interpretation and seeing. So that these aspects we have to keep in mind while dealing with the disputes with the department. More so when we are relying on any case laws also, because the case laws also we try to balance the both the sides with the permitted legislature drafted and enacted by the parliament and the state legislatures. So, and of course there are other reasons for this disputes. There is a lot of training and skill set for the tax officers. Unlike professional, they may not be completely trained with the updates of GST or different interpretation of GST. So thereby, whenever they try to put a case, when you say this is interpretation, this is the plausibility, they try to avoid and say that this I don't listen and all that. If it already they knows, it is easy to convince them and it is easy to explain them and get the case done. I just tell you my from my personal experience. There was a notice has come, system generated notice has come from the GST portal. There they were telling that so and so vendors have uploaded invoices uploaded on your GST 2A and which are appears to be falling under the negative list, that is 17 subsection 5 of CGST Act, which is not eligible for the credit. So they ask us to give an explanation. We have given a simple reply saying that, look boss, we have not at all taken any credit of those invoices and in our 3B, and we have also given our input credit register, that is input credit workings, while filing GST 3B to the department, and told that 1 second. Hello, is my screen visible? Yeah, I think it
Visible, sir, visible.
Oh, yeah. So coming back to my example, so we have given the ITC or input workings to the department, and we are told that, look, my input workings, I have not at all claimed any input on these invoices, and though I have received the services or goods from them, I did not claim it, and we have also shown the ledgers where I will be passing the entries if I have taken credit. I did not pass any entries, so that means I have not taken credit. So I think the department person keeps saying that it is there in your 2A. That means you have taken it. So how do you say that you are not taken, sir? That is only 2A or 2B. That is only the details of the invoice uploaded to my supplier. That doesn't mean that I have taken that fully. Number one. Number two, when I say I have not at all taken, that means you should have reversed. No, so show me that reversal in 2A. So again I have to convince. So to convince him that 2A or 2B reflection of entries in 2A or 2B cannot be concluded as a taking of credit in my GST 3B, took me 1.5 hour to convince that officer to say that 3B availment would be different from the what was there in 2A or 2B, because it is not that every entry in 2A or 2B automatically comes into 3B. And if it is for me to choose whether I have to take that exact amount, less reduce it and all that. So if that is a very fundamental of the GST 3B, how I take a credit. So that officer is not at all understanding, because he don't know. He has seen the two GST 2A and 3B in the as if first time in the life was talking like that. So that is where they require training and skill set of the this technological things. Similarly, they don't have accountability, and more up to our present today topic is judicial indiscipline. So they keep keeping they keep not following the judgments of courts. They keep saying that I don't follow. The matter is we are not accepting like that. So that is legally speaking, it is judicial indiscipline. They can be dragged to the court and say that they are not following court orders. That is totally not correct. So likewise, but they don't have accountability. Who will be accountable for them? So if the taxpayers also afraid of making them accountable, because they feel they may take a grudge and they may take some kind of wrong steps. So likewise, they don't have that much accountability to the either government as well as taxpayers. And of course, the supervision guidance also not there, whether they are following the right path or not, whether they are following the correct procedure while making demands and all that. They keep the top people are always keep saying that you make demands, you recover, make demands, recover. The focus is always on getting revenue, but they are not looking at whether legally they are doing it or not doing, because they keep saying I have pressure of collecting this revenue, you have to pay this somehow. So they also know that you are you have not violated law, but still you have to pay. Like this, there were instances, various places where departments kept collecting taxes despite knowing that they can't collect it in a right procedure. So likewise, they keep saying no, there are offices of some people who also wants to give relief. They're afraid of this audit and vigilance or CBI, because they say they know that the moment they give any favorable order or they give some relief, they may fear that array somebody vigilance will come and unnecessarily trouble me, and they doubt and why I should get into all that nonsense. Let me do it in favor of department, so let me be safe. So this is the various things from the department to create the disputes or the to causing of the disputes. From taxpayer perspective, as I was saying, the mindset of minimizing and saving the taxes. Besides, there is of course GST. Everybody, I think, must agree with me, may agree with me that GST is a complicated law, and people, when it is too much complicated, people try to ignore it. If it is ignored, we don't know when that ignorance will be a cause a danger. So that is what happens in sometimes where people just ignore it because I didn't understand, and these are the consequences. And all of a sudden, when department comes and verifies, they see that array, I did not know that this would be the serious consequence of this ignorance. So that is what the complicated law will be a problem, and for a lot of cumbersome procedures, compliance requirement also will cause another reason for dispute. If it is too much cumbersome or too much compliance, some people may not seriously look at it, either for their status of being small or micro, or they take a chance anyway. This long procedure, why should I follow? And some people, of course, there will be tax evaders, but it is not that as of old days of evading taxes. Of course, there will be some competition from the tax evaders also. With this, I'll be going to the presentation of the case laws. Of course, so it is also important to see how courts are also perceiving the GST. It is not only our professionals or the taxpayers or the common public. There were some interesting comments made by the Supreme Court on GST. The Supreme Court in 2019 they told, 2021 they told, Parliament had intended the GST to be citizen-friendly tax structure. The purpose of the act is lost by the manner in which the tax law is enforced. They were, so in put it in other way, Supreme Court was told that the intent of the GST is very good, but it was lost in its implementation. So that is what happens with many initiatives in our country. So they start very good initiatives, and finally after 2 3 years, the implementation will be will make that initiative itself a very bad, and cause a lot of problems. GST is not an exception. There are a lot of problems in implementation. The way it was implemented, even now people are they're suffering from GST problems, and in coming years also they'll get a lot of things from a lot of troubles from the GST compliance and all that things. So this is very relevant and up to the present situation of GST, which was observed by Supreme Court in 2021 while hearing a case of Radhakrishnan Industry versus State of Himachal Pradesh. And there is also another interesting comments by the judge of Gujarat High Court, who now is elevated as a judge of Supreme Court. He has told it is very easy to reach the moon. We take a chance, but to understand your policies and intricacies of this tax, oh God, with folded hands, we say that it is beyond our capacity to understand. So this is what the comment of Gujarat High Court. It was repeated in one of the parliament debates also. They told GST is being complicated by day and day. So try to reduce the complications. But I think the way it is going, it is contrary. So to begin with, I'll take these decisions of Supreme Court first. later by various high court and followed by other pre-GST cases which may have impact on the GST also. So one important and very beneficial judgment of Supreme Court in the recent times is the on the transitional credit. So the background, to give a background, there was a when GST was introduced in the July 2017, there were a lot of transition claims would be there from service tax or central excise or VAT, like that. So what the government has told that whatever the closing balance of input credit in the pre-GST laws, that is service tax, VAT, or central excise, or whatever the various cases scenarios, they have made a very good provisions in section 140, 141, and 142, and they told that for all those cases you file a form Tran 1 and you claim those credits in the to GST, so that you can use this credit into GST. So that is the gist of that form Tran 1 issue. And however, that time limits are very tight. They have given a time. They initially the form was released a bit late, and it was initially was extended, and finally they told 27th December 2017 was extended final date. And even on 27th December also, people are expecting extension, because that is there are a lot of people are facing problems in filing it, and some people have filed with some errors because the system is not taking the data correctly. So that means some people have not at all filed returns form Tran saying that anyway it gets extended, because at that time everything is getting extended. GST 2 getting extended, GST 3 getting extended, all other complaints are getting kept on extending, even the way bill was extended, all that. So in that mode of extension, everybody is expecting this will also get extended, but all of a sudden government has given a huge shock, saying that we are not extending, this is the final date. And by that time many people have missed the deadline. Some people have kept or they filed it online but finally did not get processed. So some people have filed it but they filed with the wrong numbers. Some people have tried to file it but they could not proceed from the first step itself. And some people are ignorant of this, saying that okay, I get anyways a further date, extended date. Some people don't know anything about it and they did not do anything unless it is when it was audited or it was verified by the auditor, then only they came to know that they missed some credits of transitional claims. So all these cases went for disputes with it before various courts. And recognizing and acknowledging those problems, government also has come down and told that I'll give up to 31st March 2020. Whoever has the evidence to prove that they have faced the technical difficulties, they can come to the, they can go to the department and they can get it reopened and transferred. They can claim the refund. They can claim the credits. However, that facility was not given to the various other categories, like what I have listed in my slides, who have filed up, attempted, but they could not have a digital evidence like screenshot or emails and all that, or grievances raised. Or some people don't know anything about due dates, or they are hoping for the extended due dates. Some people don't know about e-filing, because GST at that time is very new. Everything is online. Till that time, I think most of the states are also returns for filing offline, and service tax, of course, returns only offline, and everything is online, everything is offline. So every complete electronic filing is only there from GST, and that too, that is very new, and there are a lot of problems in the GST portal, and some people have committed mistakes. So some people, as I was saying, there was like ignorant. So all those categories, they are various states and various high courts. They approached high courts. Of course, most of the high courts have considered in favor of taxpayers, saying that it is the initial days of GST, and it is it is not in dispute that portal also has troubled the taxpayers, and they extended the facility of filing the form travel again and again. And of course, there are some high court decision where they are told that no, they are not going to uh, extend it, because it is once it's dead, it is dead. So now the matter has reached the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, the government, it seems they have themselves given this undertaking to follow this. So they have finally Supreme Court follow, after hearing both sides, they have given this direction. The one important direction is that they have told that for all those cases, they have told that GST portal will be open for filing all Tran 1 or Tran 2, and the period would be from 1st September 2022 to 31st 31st October 2022. That means 2 months time they will be given, where whoever has missed out to file, or they made a mistake, or they are not at all file anything, all those cases they can file it now, and this is the 2 months time. That means in the next September and October they can file it, and filing would be online. And they have Supreme Court very clearly told any person can go and file it, and they did not give any documentary digital evidence, or they did not should have litigated before any high court. Even then they can go. That means whoever has kept quiet or has has lost this and all that, also they can try now. And they also told Supreme Court also, because all this issue have come because of technical problems in the portal, GST portal should ensure that the GST should ensure that there is no technical glitches in this the portal, so that that will be hassle free. And it is not that only filing will be the end of the matter, and it is not that once you file you get it. It is subject to verification by the officers, and the officers have given 90 days time to verify, and if they confirm, it will come to the credit ledger. So that so this credit into credit ledger will be after verification by the officers only. So they have given 90 days time. So thereby, so whoever has any misstored claims or any mistakes and all that, they can look at data now, and they can keep ready by 1st September, and they can file it, and they can get it verified by the officer and get the credit into credit ledger. And of course, they also told GST Council can give a directions. So as I was mentioning, this is very golden chance given by the Supreme Court, and also of course government also accepted it. And so it, as I was saying, it is open to anybody. It is not that only person who has evidence has to go, and all registered person who can go and file it. And they did not produce any screenshots and all that, and everything is online and no manual. Of course, it is we don't know how GST portal will behave. If there are some problems with the GST portal online online filing, then they can file manual, so that that time limit they don't miss it. And of course, this is subject to verification, and they verify, they have to pass an order. And whenever you file, don't just file some number, keep supporting documents and calculations, and because it will be verified and will be confirmed. And also that it is also important to take a correct numbers. Otherwise, again, you do a mistake, nobody will support you. And even courts also says, I think enough chance has been given. You can't keep on doing same mistake and again and again. So be careful, and don't worry about that. Earlier, I have taken credit and as expenses. Now, again, take credit. Taking credit may be denied the department, saying that earlier you already shown it as expenses. How do you take it now? So all that will not come, because input tax credit is not subject to any unjust enrichment. Of course, GST, it is also important to see how GST Council is going to give a guidelines to the department officers. So this is one judgment, and next judgment of Supreme Court, this is also very important and interesting, is GST on the deemed ocean freight. So this is the picture how it will show the where is the dispute and what is the exactly the dispute. If you look at the goods can be imported in this is in the context of import of goods. So there are two ways I can import the goods from outside India. One is that I import based on FOB price. Second is I import based on CIF price. So if I import FOB basis, so there is two ways, because that FOB, and difference between FOB and CIF is that in FOB, transporter will be the foreign supplier is responsible to deliver the goods till the location of the foreign port. That means I am responsible to lift the goods from foreign port to Indian place, and from Indian place to my factory. So thereby the transportation from outside India to India is responsibility of the Indian importer. So thereby in that case there is no dispute here, because whether I appoint the Indian shipping line, if I appoint Indian shipping line will pay GST under forward charge, he collect from me, or else if he is a foreign supplier, I will pay under reverse charge. So in both the cases, government is getting revenue, and it is price competitive for shipping lines also. Whether I appoint foreign shipping line or local shipping line, the GST will not be a differentiator in the competition. Whereas if I go to the CAF basis, which means that my foreign supplier only has to deliver the goods at Indian port. That means the transportation from foreign port to Indian port will be the responsibility of the foreign supplier. So in that case, the shipping line will be appointed by whom? It will be appointed by the foreign supplier. So in that case, if the foreign supplier has appointed Indian shipping line, they have to pay GST because as per the GST provisions, if it is import transaction, the place of supply will be in India and shipping company has to pay GST in India because it is not an export of services, though they get amount from foreign line and they get dollars. So thereby they have to charge GST to the foreign customer, that is foreign supplier. Whereas if the foreign supplier engages the foreign shipping line, because foreign shipping line do not have any relation in India, so they will not charge any GST. So thereby it is creating two problems. One problem is government is losing the revenue because of this. The foreign ship supplier appoints foreign shipping line, then government is not getting GST revenue on the shipping services. Number one. Number two is it is also creating undue advantage to the foreign shipping line. Thereby, Indian shipping lines are crying and saying that no, you equate us, either give us the exemption or make us the export, and so that I will be competitive. So what government has cleverly done, they did not give any exemptions to the Indian shippers. They're told that wherever the foreign shipping line is appointed by the foreign supplier, in case of CA case, CF basis imports, it is Indian importer who has to pay GST under reverse charge, and that is been the initial introduced in service tax in the year 2016, which was carried and forward under GST service tax also. In this background, the dispute is how come when the foreign supplier, that means the foreign supplier, that is supplier of shipping services outside India, and the recipient of the shipping service is also outside India, because Indian importer do not receiving any service from the shipper. The shipper will be appointed by the foreign company. Foreign company only pays him. Indian importer is not paying anything, and he don't know the value and all that. So that is where the dispute has come, and it was challenged before the High Court. And Gujarat High Court has told they have given various reasons to say that Indian importer cannot be made liable for GST under reverse charge on the freight component and CF contract. They have given two reasons. One is that to bring it under reverse charge, section 5 of 3 of ICAI Act says recipient only can be made liable for GST and reverse charge. Whereas in case of this Indian importer on CF basis, shipping contract, Indian importer is not a party to that shipping contract. So thereby you cannot say that there is recipient. Thereby that levy fails. Second is the reason what they have given is also that when the Indian importer pays custom duty and GST on the entire import value consignment, that means he is already paying IGST to the government on the including freight component, because as per the customs provisions, GST or custom duty has to be paid on the CF price, not on the only FOB price, whether it was FOB contract or CF contract. Custom duties and GST, IGST has to be paid on the total value including freight component. That means he's already paying GST on that freight component, and you are taxing this transaction becomes to double taxation. And these are the two reasons given by the Gujarat High Court to say that it is double taxation or it is not valid levy under reverse charge, and they struck down that levy. The matter has gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court has disagreed with the first finding of Gujarat High Court, and they told that no, by virtue of the various provisions of GST, they are told that recipient Indian importer can be said as a recipient, because the recipient definition has different clauses, and they have said that that way he will become a recipient, and he can be made liable for GST under purchase. However, they told that they concluded that it is not liable because anyway, at the time of import, including on the freight component, GST being paid by the Indian importer, so it leads to double taxation. Not only double taxation, it is against the principles of section 8 of the CGST, that means composite supply, which says once any incidental or ancillary services or goods being given with main supply, the ancillary or incidental will take the character of main, and GST has to be paid as a one rate and one value on the total price. So thereby, once I am paying the GST at the time of import on including a freight component, that is against this principle. So the finally conclusion remains same from the Gujarat High Court to Supreme Court, but the reason for the basis for the conclusion has been only was deferred. So of course, in this process, they've also analyzed whether the recommendation of GST Council, whether the recommendation of the GST Council, whether it will be binding on the parliament or state legislature, this many people have seen the newspapers. The people must have surprised why they are making this comments in this decision. The background of this comments is that in the Supreme Court, the Department Council has taken a plea. The notifications and the charge was created on the recommendation of the GST Council, and GST Council is a constitutional body. And once constitutional body makes any recommendation, that is binding on the parliament and state legislature. Thereby, it is as good as the legislature passed by the assembly or the parliament. So it cannot be challenged on the grounds of ultra virus and all that. In that background, Supreme Court has to explain what is the constitutional structure of the GST Council and how GST laws will be enacted by the parliament and state legislature. And after explaining the various constitutional provisions before GST and after GST, they held that GST Council recommendation is only recommendatory, because parliament and state legislature in the federal structure, they have their own freedom of making their legislatures. In GST also, GST has not taken away the law making power on the GST. It is independent. Parliament and state legislature has independent power to make different provisions for the GST law. That is what they have told in a different way. Of course, there are some problems in the GST in this decision. Of course, I'll not be getting into now. So this is another. So we have concluded the decision on the ocean freight. Now we'll go into the another interesting decision of Supreme Court again on the GST and on tour operators. So there, the background of the issue is this. So this Hajj pilgrims would be there, like it is pilgrim organized by the Hajj Committee of Saudi Arabia. So there the dispute is, there was a GST exemption to the pilgrimage program arranged by the Hajj Committee, which is formed by the government body. If it is there arranging, that means if any pilgrimage is going through the Hajj Committee of government Hajj Committee, there is an exemption from service tax or GST, whereas that similar exemption was not given to the private tour operators, or there is some groups formed by the private people in the form of Hajj group organizers. So of course, in even Saudi Arabia government also, they'll give some percentage of seats for pilgrimage tour to this organized by the both the PTO private tour operator as well as the Hajj group organizers. So there in those cases, the challenge was made saying that the nature of the transaction remains same, and the exemption given is also should be given to the HGO groups as well as the private tour operator, because it is important to equate both the cases. And they've also interpreted the exemption notification. In that background, Supreme Court has analyzed the provisions of service tax as well as GST, and they told that because the ultimate recipient of service from these tour operators or the HGOs are from Indian place, so it will be service recipient will be in India. So thereby it will not be an export of services, and they have to pay service tax or GST. And the arguments relating to the exemptions and constitutional discriminatory also was rejected. One on the, as far as the exemption, they told that exemption entry clearly says that it is only the committees which are recognized by the statutory only will be given exemption, not the every case of Hajj pilgrimage programs offered by the anyone. So thereby intention of the exemption is only to for statutory recognized bodies of these pilgrimage tour operators, not the private or the HGO private groups. So thereby they told that the exemption is not applicable, and they also taken a plea, because I do a lot of works in activities in the package pilgrimage package, like right from the booking of the tickets, booking of the stay, food availability and all that. So most of the activities are occurring outside India, so government of India should not tax it. That also is rejected, saying that when you are offering complete package, that will take a different character of nature of the transaction. That means tour operator nature of the transaction is different from the simple accommodation thereby. So you can't bifurcate saying that you tax me only the flight booking, or you tax me the agency commission, rest food arrangement and stay because it's outside, it's happening outside India, don't tax me. That kind of splitting cannot be done when you offer it as a single package. The Supreme Court put it in differently. They told that when you are saying I'll give a all package, various activities in single package and single price, so you can't split based on the taxation. Taxation cannot be based on the splitting. If you are offering separately and you are offering independently, yes, you may eligible. So that's what the Supreme Court has told. And as far as discrimination also, they are told that because the statutory committees formed for this Hajj committee, Hajj pilgrimage, are not profit motive organization, and also their amount goes to the funds. So thereby there is different from the private tour operators, which is can be a profit making company or profit motive company. So because both are different class and different categories, so they cannot plead the discrimination under this Article 14 of the Constitution. That is also rejected by the Supreme Court. So in sum and substance, they have told that only the statutory committees of Hajj pilgrimage will get the exemption, whereas other private tour operators or the HGOs will not get the exemptions. The latest development just before this decision has come is that the government themselves have given exemption, saying that if the 50% of the tour is happening outside India, I think they are told that it is exempted from GST. That can be considered while making the impact of this decision. But of course, past period, this decision will not help, because the Supreme Court also has told that you are not eligible for the exemption for the private tour operators or HGOs. Now, another important decision delivered by Supreme Court in 2021 is the provisional attachment of property. This trend has started from 2019, where the department personnel are very active and very aggressive in terms of various arrest as well as the attachment and recoveries. So in that process, in genuine cases also, they have troubled a lot of taxpayers. In those cases, when the matter has reached the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court explained the principle when power of provisional attachment of property can be invoked and can be exercised. So to explain what is provisional attachment of property is that before finalization of the proceedings, that is before finalization of the assessment of the liability, the department with the permission of the commission has a power to provisionally attach the properties. That may be bank account, that may be properties, etc., etc. So in that background, because it is this is the provisional attachment, that means well before the completion of proceeding they can do this attachment so that they can recover their money. That is what their intention was. So in that background, Supreme Court explained these are the very principles has to be kept in mind. They told that this provisional attachment of property is very drastic and far-reaching power, and it must be exercised with the extreme care and caution, and you should not use it as a harass or cause detrimental effect on the business. So they must be seeing department keep saying that if you don't agree with this my point, or if you don't pay this, I'll come and attach your bank account, and they try to misuse this kind of powers. They say that we have power to arrest, we have power to do this and all that. So the Supreme Court has clearly told don't exercise as a matter of routine, and don't take it as a tool to harass the taxpayers, and you only use it with very extreme and care and caution, because the moment you attach any bank account in it nowadays in digital era, once bank account is attached, is almost economic death of the business, because you can't rotate the money. Once you can't rotate the money, you can't procure the goods, you can't pay the vendors. Once you whatever money you get, if you can't use it for your business, then it's gone. So that is nothing but nothing short of economic death of the business. So that is where they told that it will have a lot of serious impact on the business. So be careful in exercising this power. And the Supreme Court also held that you only treat it as a last step. Don't come initially, you find something is wrong, then don't directly go to the power of provisional attachment. You only take it as a last step. You try to see their history of the history, and see whether they can take some bond or anything, or else take some deposit or like that, you take various means. Don't just take it as a first resort and trouble the taxpayers. And also that don't just make this attachments on some casual evidence. For example, somebody will who is not going well with the company can come and say that company is fraud and whatever they did is fraud, and I also did some fake transaction. If somebody makes a statement, and just don't rely on that statement and come and attach the property, because any person who is not well with me, he may try to trouble me. So his statement cannot be simply basis to take this kind of drastic powers, drastic step against me. So that is what the Supreme Court has explained. They told you should take it in very credible evidence, and don't just take a casual evidence. Then followed by 1 second. Yeah. Whenever this provisional attachment is done, the appellate remedy is available, and people can file appeal against this, and repetition is also maintainable. Yeah. And as I was saying, because the provisions also says necessary to do for protecting government revenue, means that interest of the government cannot be protected without ordering provisional attachment. So that in a way they're saying, if this provisional attachment is not done, so government revenue will not be protected. That should, in those cases only, the provisional attachment has to be resorted, not in a very routine case. And whoever property was provisional attached, they are entitled to two safeguards. One is that they can make their submissions saying that why provisional attachment is not required. For example, taxpayer can say, I am 20 years in the business and I'm paying taxes like this, and so allegation is also not correct, and I have not done anything wrong and all that. So he can make his submission and objections, he can put it, and if the officer is convinced, he has to give a hearing, and he can drop that provisional attachment thing, or else he can continue if he is not convinced. And also that as I was saying, commissioner has to deal with the objection. He has to put it in record why it was not being accepted, and any appeal is filed, and the attachment will cease to have effect, because once we file appeal against the demand order, 10% we have to pay pre-deposit. Once 10% pre-deposit is paid as per the provisions, lest every demand gets stayed. When demand is stayed, then there should not be any recovery. So thereby, that's what I was saying. Whenever any orders were passed and against that we file appeal, not provisional attachment order, it is the demand order, then the provisional attachment has to come to an end. And without any change in facts and position, you can't do it again second time attachment. So that is what happened in one of the case in this batch. So this is a provisional attachment. Now followed by another interesting judgments of Supreme Court on the refund matter. So to give background of this case, for example, if you take any some sensitive goods or some common use goods, in the initial days of GST, government has told that I'll impose 5%. For example, you take a example of farm tractors. So farm tractors which are used in the agriculture farming, because it has to be lesser price to the end customer. They told that GST rate on the farm tractors will be 5%. Whereas if I have to the tractor making companies, they have to make a tractors, they have to procure a lot of goods and services. For example, they have to procure a steel, they have to procure a tire, they have to procure various technology services from various people. That means they procure steel, they procure tires and all that, which are liable at a higher rate of 5%. That means steel and all that are liable at 18% and 28% at that time. So thereby, because and even the design service or the engineering service and all that will be as 18%, because it's a pure service. So because of this, what happens to the manufacturer, maker of the tractor? We pay GST at higher rate of GST on inputs, and whereas in output is taxed at a lesser rate. Due to this is coming into inversion, and because of this, the ITC is getting accumulated, and I am not able to utilize fully for output liability. So thereby, I get accumulation of the input credit. In that background, this is not new under GST, it is there under service central excise and also in VAT. They told that whenever this kind of inversion is there, that is your output rate is less and our input rates are high, and if it leads to any accumulation of ITC, the provisions were made saying that whatever the accumulated input rate is there, I will give the refund. So why they have to give refund is, if they don't give refund, that accumulated ITC will become no use. Once it is become no use, it is as good as any other expenses. Once it is become expenses, it is as good as you are making the tax as expenses in the books of the maker, tax or tractor maker. It will become a cost of production. So thereby the cost of production will increase. So the entire objective of giving a concession rate of 5% on the output product is getting defeated. So that is where they're told, okay, whatever the accumulated and unutilized rate is there, I'll give a refund. So that is what, in that background, the provisions were made. So far, so clear and clean. So that is where the Supreme Court comments are very relevant in this case. Unfortunately, Supreme Court in this case have not followed that with due respect. So the objective of giving concession rate, so it will be achieved by refunding the unutilized portion of ITC. So the while giving a procedure and the calculation mechanism to arrive the refund eligibility, that is where the bureaucracy has put their minds in making this complicated point. What they are told, they are told that I'll give refund only of the input credit coming out from the inputs. I will not give refund of input credit coming out from the input services. That means they say for making tractors, if I buy a steel and I pay GST at 18% vis-a-vis 5% output, the input accumulation coming from inputs I'll give refund, whereas I don't give refund on the input accumulation coming from input services, that is design or engineering or building rent or the factory rent or the various engineering services or the professional services, etc., etc. So that is where the purpose was lost, because once you don't give full refund, some credit will still get unutilized and will become a cost. So this is becoming defeating. And if you look at the plain language section, it is not giving that indication. It gives indication of give full unutilized credit. So this matter has gone to high courts. Gujarat High Court held that no full refund has to be given, looking at the provisions. Whereas the Madras High Court has given a different view, saying that no, what department says is right. They can give in their that is government policy. Policies of the government cannot be questioned. So this dispute has gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court has unfortunately has affirmed the Madras High Court decision, saying that yes, government is right in saying that they that is their policy decision to give only the inputs ITC refund, not the total refund. So they made these comments, and the impact of this is that you will get only refund of inputs ITC whenever there is an inverted duty structure cases, not the input services. And there is some lacuna was pointed out before Supreme Court in arriving the refund of this inputs alone ITC also, which was agreed by Supreme Court, but they have directed the GST Council to make that change in the formula, which was recently accepted, and they have done by the government also in the latest council meeting minutes in July 2022. So they made that amendment to say that effectively full ITC of the input credit will be given to that extent of unutilized portion. And another important decision from the Supreme Court is that the background of the case is that the Bharti Airtel case, what they have done, this is the initial month of GST, July and August 2017. So they have claimed some credit, and they paid, suppose their cash liability, their total liability is 100 crores, and excuse me, 1 second. Yeah, sorry. So they claimed the credit in the in the GST returns in July month and August month, while claiming as per their records, whatever there they have claimed it. But when they have seen the GSR 2A, which has come later at later point of time, they seems to have bestowed a lot of credit, because they claimed less credit in the July and August month. They have paid more tax in cash. If they have a more ITC, they would have paid less cash liability in GST. So that is where the problem has come. And this Bharti Airtel, what they have done, they have challenged this. They have asked for the rectification of this that July month and August month 2017 return, saying that I have erroneously I have paid more cash liability. I should have paid more less cash liability because I have more ITC. because 2A is not being available to me, so I could not take that. So now it has come, so I would like to rectify it. And the department officer told, there is a government circular where it says same month return cannot be rectified. Whatever the rectifications, amendments, any changes can be done only in the subsequent month returns only. You can't change the same month return. That means once it is filed, that changes of that particular month can be done only through next month return. So you can so that effect has to be given only next month. That revision of return is not there, or rectification is also not there. So that is what they are told, and against this, they challenge the circular given by the government before Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court has given relief to the bar title, say that so because the provisions nowhere prohibits the rectification of the same month return or revision of the same month return. So what circular is given is not as per the law, so they are stuck down. They quashed it. However, this matter has gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court has agreed with the department, saying that provisions do not permit the rectification or revision. So just because 2A was not operationalized, you cannot you cannot take a mercy saying that because of this I could not file the correct return. So that is your internal records, and claiming of rate is not a new thing under GST. It was there in service tax and VAT or central excise. So you can't take that excuse as a reason. So they have denied that revision of the return. They have told that you can only do it in the subsequent month return. So this is also another important point. And however, while delivering this judgment, they have told one important point to say that GST portal is only facilitator to feed or retrieve information. Taxpayer is obliged to do self-assessment of ITC and its eligibility and output liability, including the ledgers balance. You can't simply say that the government is not giving information on the portal, so I could not file correct return. As well, whatever the information you have, you should ensure that you file it as per your available information. So this is another important decision. And now there are some decisions which are pending before Supreme Court, but equally important in the current time. And one important is that whether the arrest can be made by the department before completion of the assessment or adjudication, because you would have seen a lot of news in day and out, where so and so being arrested, so and so being sent to jail and all. So there this is all started in 2019. I think in the early 19 it has started, and there are some challenges for made, saying that without completion of the investigation or the assessment, how department can come to conclusion that I made some serious offense and they can arrest me, because to arrest any person for serious offense, they have to complete the assessment and they have to say how much I did the violation and what is the amount evaded and all that. In that background, they made this petition in the Telangana High Court, where Telangana High Court has following the other judgments in the context of PMLA and other economic offences matters. They told that arrest can be made before completion of assessment, because both are different proceedings. One is assessment of liability is different. Another is prosecution. Prosecution is to investigate and trial the matter, whereas assessment of liability can be done on the records, and of course some evidence can be taken from prosecution also. And pre-trial arrest can be challenged before High Court. So they told the arrest can be made, and what the arrest is done can be challenged before High Court for asking for either quashing of the FIR or the investigation or the arrest. And they also told that if compounding of offense is applied, it can be given. If it is not applied, it is not automatic. However, the matter has gone to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court dismissed this plea, SLP, saying that I know they are not inclined to infer it. Meanwhile, there is other high courts have expressed different views, saying that no, this arrest cannot be done before completion of assessment, because how can we believe that officers are acting in good faith of arresting the taxpayers? Now, because this different views are there, and when this matter has gone to Supreme Court again, the Supreme Court has referred this matter to larger bench, and which is now is pending for before larger bench of Supreme Court. However, latest judgment under PMLI against the arrest powers of ED department will have some impact on this case, these decisions also. But as such, the Supreme Court decision is awaited. And the few more decisions which are pending before Supreme Court is this: whether the GST or service tax is liable on the mining lease or royalty or sinrage charges, etc., paid by the license holder to the state governments. So in various industries, either granite industry or cement industry, various industry, they pay mining license fees or royalties or sinrage to the government for giving mining license. So this issue is not only for GST. There is other connected important matters which are pending before Supreme Court in before 9-judge bench of Supreme Court in 2011, which was referred. So because earlier there was some counter decisions of 5-judge and 7-judge bench, the matter was referred to the 9-judge bench. The constitutional matters were there, whether the royalty is a tax or not, or whether royalty is a tax on building or land. Likewise, there are matters, constitutional questions were pending before larger bench of 9-judge bench before Supreme Court, which was referred in 2011. Because the whatever the decision has come in that 9-judge bench decision will have equally impact under GST and service tax, because the moment they say royalty or license fees is nothing but a tax, then it will not be a consideration, and once it is not a consideration, it is not a supply. Once it is not a supply, nobody can demand service tax or GST, because there is no tax on tax. Tax is not a consideration under for a contract, because it is a statutory levy. So they say otherwise, it may be liable. So because this decision of the Supreme Court is a direct impact on the GST liability, various when the high courts have also granted a stay on the demands made by this department of GST on the royalties or the sinrage fees. So they are told that till the disposal of matter by the 9-judge bench of Supreme Court, matter can be kept in abeyance and stay will be granted to the demands raised by the department. Department also raises demands because they have time limits and also the procedure to be followed to make demands. This is another important aspect which may have to see when the Supreme Court is going to form that 9-judge bench, and when they are going to deliver judgment, we don't know. So that is another important, and this is a another important decision which is awaiting from Supreme Court is this ITC on the construction expenses for the commercial complex which is given for lease. So the background of the case is this: so if you look at commercial complex, which whatever the construction expenses I incur, either the procurement of cement, steel, appointment of contractor, or the various things. So if I, if I construct that building and resell it off to the customer before OC, then I have to pay GST at 12%, and I can take full credit of this. Whereas if instead of selling it to customer, I lease it to somebody, so I have pay GST on the lease amount. I don't pay, I know, because don't make a sale, I only pay GST on the lease amount. So in both the cases, if you look at output, I'm paying GST. Whereas input, in second case, it is being denied specifically under section 17, subsection 5, saying that because you are not selling it further, so you are not eligible for the credit because you are using for your own account. So whether it's our own account or it's different, but that is was one of the interpretation of the department. Against this, the matter was the challenge was made before Orissa High Court, saying that how can they give a different treatment when the GST is being paid by both the cases to the government. Government is getting GST revenue on both the cases, whether it is sale of commercial complex, whether it is the lease of commercial complex, government is getting its share of GST. Then why they should uh, uh, give the credit in the second case? Why this discriminatory treatment on this? The Orissa High Court has held, yes, it is against the basic fundamental of GST, where they have to give the free flow of input credit, and they should not give a denial of the credit to the second case of lease transaction, and they are told this. And the matter is now pending before Supreme Court because the department has gone to Supreme Court. So in this background, so we are waiting for the decision on Supreme Court, how Supreme Court is going to react, because the section itself was read down by the High Court. See, here one important point is, pending this decision, there are some people who are trying to explore and take a credit. So wherever this kind of input credit, which on the construction expenses, what some people are doing, we have advised them also. They're saying that you take credit and don't utilize it. Anyway, if you are not utilized, no input, no interest liability. If at all the Supreme Court says no, then you reverse it. If they say yes, okay, you can take and enjoy it for our output liability. Or else what you can do is you take it and reverse it under protest and say that I would like to take in the future. It is one important thing. Another important thing is also that wherever possible you try to bifurcate the plant and machinery things. For example, lift credit, or else the ACs, furnitures, or the electrical things. All those you bifurcate it, and because that is a plant and machinery, that is not restricted. So likewise, you try to minimize the consequence of decision. And it's also important to take a chance in input credit, because unlike output, where if I have to take a chance, I have to take a chance not only of from my pocket, because if I don't for example, there is a dispute of applicability of 5% versus 12%. If I don't take 12% from a customer today, he may not be traceable in the future. So it is not worth enough to take a chance in the recovery of output tax liability whenever we are capable of recovering the 12% from the customer, knowing that there is a chance of paying at 5%. Whereas in input tax credit, whether I today or after 5 years, it will be from the same pocket. Whether I take input credit or I don't take input credit, it is from my own pocket. So we stand in a better position to take a risk in disputing the input tax rate issues. Whereas in output, I think better to avoid the disputes, because if now customer is before us, so we can try to get the reimbursement at highest, safest values or safest rates, because most likely you'll be getting credit. So you may not also have any objections in most of the cases. So thereby that is how we have to keep it in mind whenever we are dealing with the disputes or the ambiguities on the input credit. It is, you have to look at the financial consequences also. And another important judgment which is pending before Supreme Court again is the whether long-term lease like 60 years, 90 years, whether it is equal to sale of land or it is only lease transaction. That is, the argument was, when I'm giving 60 years, 90 years as a lease, it is nothing short of sale of land. Once it is a sale of land, no GST. So that is the challenge which is pending before Supreme Court. In service tax, the Mumbai court has told, it is sale of land, you are not having service tax. Surprisingly, in GST, they told no, that will not apply and you have to pay GST on that lease. The matter is now before Supreme Court. We have to see how Supreme Court is going to react. The other important dispute is also pending before Supreme Court is the tribunal formation. So one of the dispute on the tribunal formation is that the composition of the tribunal members. They told initially when GST has come, they told tribunal will be formed by 3 members. One from the state department, one from the standard department, other from the judiciary background. So thereby here what is happening, the state department and central department will be a technical member and third member will be judicial. So this composition is against the Supreme Court decision in case of R. Gandhi, because in that case they have clearly told the technical member presence should not be dominating the or more than the judicial member strength. Otherwise, the every decision wherever which is has to be looked at judicially may not be looked at, because the technical member coming from the right background of subject and the department, there may be tendency may be in favor of the confirming it, or in the fame of it may not be in the judiciary style or the judiciary mind. So that is where they have stuck down that composition, and matter is pending before Supreme Court. Meanwhile, of course, government is also not keen on this keeping this composition forever. They are also trying to accommodate this direction of the Madras High Court, saying that yes, we don't continue this dominance of technical member strength in the bench, and we try to equate the technical members bench presence as well as the judicial member. So yeah, now with this I completed a presentation on the Supreme Court decision so far, either the decisions delivered by the Supreme Court or which are delivered by some high courts and pending before Supreme Court for final outcome. So now I'll go into the some important high court decisions from time to time. So I'll go by area. So there are various judgments has come on the explaining the objective of GST. These are the various judgments. These only few judgments I have quoted here. we can refer it more and more. So basically they told that they are trying to explain what is the objective of GST is to try to avoid the cascading tax and also the seamless flow of credit and all that. Wherever we are trying to understand the basic principles of GST or the objectives of GST, we can look at these judgments where they are trying to explain and elaborate the GST principles. Now we'll get into the specific cases of the High Court. First judgment is this horse race is a case. So what happens? The dispute in this case is this. What happened is there is a no race organizer and the totalizer, and there is a customer who comes and bets the money. So the GST provisions were made. The rule was made to say that, for example, there is a A, person B, person C, and person D. So 4 person will come and give 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, and they'll 4 lakhs will be pooled. And this organizer, what they do in this 4 lakhs, he will retain some his portion, that is 10% he may retain his commission, and whatever 3.6 lakhs is there, 3.6 lakhs will be given to the winner. That means among 4, whoever wins the race, that person will get the 3.6 lakhs, and 40,000 will be given as will be retained as a commission by the totalizer or the organizer. So in this case, the service of the totalizer or the organizer is only that 40,000, because that is only his commission. Less 3.6 lakhs, what was taken from the pooled from the 4 members and paid back to the winner, is nothing but like a bank account. Any bank, they'll just take money from the account holder and they'll pay it to the other person on their instructions. So, but GST, they told GST is not only liable on the commission. The rules was made, Rule 31A, Sub Rule 3 was made. They say that GST has to be paid on 100% of the face value was what was received. That means they said GST has to be paid on the total 4 lakhs, not only on the 40,000. That is has been challenged by the Bangalore Turf Club Limited before Karnataka High Court, where Karnataka High Court has, after analyzing the GST provisions and also the various terms and the status of the organizer as well as the totalizer, they told that totalizer is only liable for GST only on the commission part, and face value is receiving in the amount in the capacity of it is a fiduciary capacity is receiving, and it is not his own money, and he cannot use it for his business. It cannot be constituted as a consideration for the any service given by totalizer. So that can be applied in many cases. For example, you take any reimbursement, there also we can say various government organization will be there. For example, there are government organization, they says all electronic procurements will be done by the government organization, and for administrative charges they'll say 2%, 5% will be administrative charges. So that means whatever the expenses incurred by the for procurement of electronic products like laptops or desktop or servers and all that will be common procurement will be done by one company and will be distributed to various people. So here the company which was formed, they only get 2%, 3% as the administrative charges. So in that case, the other amounts which is only received and passed on to the vendor from other companies. So likewise, even the manpower supply contracts also, they will take a salary and statutory payments from their customers, and they'll pay to the workers, and what they get is only these admin charges or the commission. So all those cases we can use this judgment and say that whatever the money has received over and above the commission, it is only received in the fiduciary capacity, and I cannot be liable for GST or service tax on total amount received, because it is not that every money received will be consideration. Every receipt cannot be consideration. There is a difference in saying what money was received and money becomes a consideration. So otherwise they can simply say whatever the bank rate is there, you pay GST on it. That is not the law of GST as of now, at least. So that is how it is useful in all those cases. This is 2021 Karnataka High Court judgment, and there are other the High Court judgment also. They also held that the face value cannot be treated as a total taxable value. And also is another important judgment of Madras High Court decision, where they told that whenever registration was cancelled, there is a facility for revocation of the cancellation, and we have to apply for it. And whatever the other conditions, for example, if registration is cancelled for non-filing of returns for more than 6 months, So if decision is cancelled, we have to apply for revocation, and once it returns for file, they'll revoke it. So, however, while revoking, there is no procedure of verification of the returns already filed. What only has to be seen by the officer is whether the returns were filed till the date of cancellation or not. But some intelligence officers are looking at and saying that what you returns you have filed is not complete, and you have made various claims which are not eligible, and all that verification details investigation, they're doing it, and that they're trying to reject the revocation application, saying that because you have not filed the complete and full return, so our valid return, I'm rejecting it. Revocation was being rejected. To this, when the matter has gone to High Court told, look, if you look at the provisions of GST in the revocation proceedings, you cannot do a assessment or adjudication. That is under different provisions. So don't do assessment or adjudication. You just plainly look at whether conditions of revocation were satisfied or not. And if it is satisfied, you revoke the registration. So luckily, in the latest council meeting, they also made an important amendment. Wherever the GST registration was suspended due to non-filing of returns for more than 6 months, once returns were filed, the registration will be automatically suspension will be automatically revoked, and registration will be put to normal back. That means you not go and apply for revocation once you file returns till the date of suspension. Automatic system, because system knows that, so that will get automatically revoked. So that is another important development pursuant to this decision. And hope I'm clear. Hello.
Sir, please tell me, sir.
So should we take any break or should we continue?
No, sir. Since we are going to continue, we can have a break, sir. Actually, you can pause it off, and we'll resume when you are ready, sir.
Yeah, we'll take some 5 minutes or 10 minutes break.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem, sir.
Yeah, fine then. So just by what time we'll reassemble?
6:30. We have 6:22 now. By 6:30, we'll resume, sir. 8 minutes.
Great then, fine.
Thank you. Sir, can we start, sir?
Yeah. Hope I'm audible, Selva.
You're audible and you're visible and screen is visible, sir. Continue, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I welcome back all the participants for the program. So now we this another judgment of High Court of Karnataka is on this forced payments during the investigation. So what happened? This the background is very true reflection of the typical style of investigation authorities under GST. So what they have done, the background of the case is that Swiggy runs. Swiggy is the company involved in this. Swiggy runs the business of food delivery, as all of us knows. And in some peak season, they'll take a third party, help in getting the delivery boys or girls. So in this case, that company is Greenfinch Private Limited. So there they have charged GST, saying that I have supplied manpower to you, and they've asked for the GST, and Swiggy has taken input credit because they pay GST on their commission and all the things. So DSI Hyderabad zone has investigated this case, and they told that on their investigation, the manpower supply company, that is Greenfinch, is a non-existing, and it seems to be not functioning company, and you have taken the credit on the invoice issued by the some company without actual service, and thereby you have taken a fake ITC. You have to pay GST, pay back the GST ITC what you have taken, and they threatens the directors, saying that if you don't pay back, I'll arrest you, and all that happened. All this happened in November 2019 and December 2019, and while making payment also they were objected, saying that don't put under protest because you have to make it as a final payment. And because they have objected for under protest word, department, so these people have filed a letter saying that we have paid and treat it as a under protest, don't treat it as a final payment, BSC03. And in between nothing happened, and while the way the investigation happened also, they they given summons to the directors, and they have made to the director to sit for the whole day, and in the midnight and early morning they asked for the various statements and the recorded statements, but on record the timings of the statements would be in the daytime, but off the record they did it in the night time and early night time or the uh, early mornings. So there the figure of people have taken an argument saying that the fact that my payment was made in the early morning of day, that is 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, also shows that how they have arrested us, and they also show the entry history of the department where they have also told that the entire premises of the office was locked and nobody was allowed to come inside and all that, and big environment was created with threatening messages and various other manhandling or the high handness. So thereby this is nothing but a forced payment, and after payment of taxes in BS03 in 2019, nothing happened, and 2 years have been expired, and department is not moving the file further. Neither they're concluding it nor they're further investigating, which means that they do not have any case to continue, and so thereby whatever I paid under force or the coercion has to be refunded because my money was stuck there unnecessarily. So against this, the Defense Sanction Authority has told that refund is premature. So thereby the investigation is still going on. So thereby one whatever the amounts you paid is you are paid in DRC 03, where you have selected the category reason for payment as a voluntary. Once you pay a voluntary payment, well, how do you say that it's forced payment? And the fact that you filed it under BR03, you only filed it, nobody has forced you. All that grounds they have taken, and they told that you are not eligible for the refund for all of these reasons. Against this, when the party has gone to High Court, initially the single judge has heard the matter and held that looking at the circumstances, this is not at all self-ascertained liability, is only forced liability and forced payment. And refund is available because department has not done anything after the payment. So it is as good as there is no, it appears there is no case to continue further. And they also told that there should be some difference, has to be treatment should be given for the persons who pays taxes, files returns, and make a complaints, and who are evading it. So that kind of dignity and kind of different better treatment should be given. You can't equate every non-compliance or violation as a all of them are single same. So you can't equate everybody as the same. So that is what they explained. They also told that in the investigation you should do further investigation only in the CCTV direction and CCTV footage, and you should record the interrogation, and without that don't do any interrogation. That is another direction given by the High Court. And they also told that because refund is eligible, so they can be given. And they, against this, when department has also gone to they are agreed by this, department has gone to division bench, and division bench also held that what single bench matter as decision is there, that is final, and it appears department is not in correct in keeping the money for long and without any moving the investigation further, and they keep saying all this it was voluntary and all that. They just affirmed this matter, and this was followed by the instructions given by the and SOP given by the government in, I think, in the instruction number 1 of 2022-23. There they clearly written, don't force any payments. Of course, they have put it in instructions, but to what extent they practically they follow is a different story. But they're told, don't ask for any payment during the investigation and all that. Everything should be voluntarily, and don't ask for the same day and all that, like that they have given directions. So this is another consequence of this decision. And another High Court decision which is also interesting is the intermediary case. So the background of this case is this. For example, I'm a commission agent. I get a commission from my foreign principal. Either I may help him in securing business for him, that means buying his customers, getting his customers, increasing his customers and all. And there may be possibility where I help them in sourcing of the materials or the services. So because they get they have some confidence, so they say you help us in this thing. So the commission agents, they get some commission from the either for helping in sale or helping in the purchase. So if I get it from local Indian person, there is no problem because I have to pay GST, and customer also gets input credit, no problem at all. Whereas in I get a commission from the foreign supplier, the issue is they will be treated as an intermediary under GST. Once you are intermediary under GST, the place of supply will be your location, that is supplier location, not the recipient location. Once this is there, once its supplier location is the place of supply, it will not be export of services. Though you get foreign currency, though your client is from outside India, though you fulfill, we are more or less fulfilling the fundamental criteria of what regular exports are being done. So they said the commission agent is cannot will not be treated as export of service. He will be like, once it is not export of service under GST, it has to be paid. GST has to be paid at 18%. The problem is this. The practical problem of intermediary is this, or agents is this. They get, suppose they get a 100 rupees commission. So the most likely, because the principal, foreign principal, don't get the GST at 18% as input credit, it will become a cost to him. So thereby most of the cases, foreign principals are not ready to give any commission. They say whatever Indian taxes are there, that is your account. So that they don't give. Thereby Indian agent only has to bear from his pocket. So once 18 rupees GST has to be paid from 100 rupees commission. So if you back calculate also, it's 17 rupees or 18 rupees going only to the government in the form of GST. Now whatever the because commission agent hardly have any mostly do not have any expenses. Maybe he's having some traveling, he may be having some expense and all that. Even leaving aside, there will be income tax of 30 to 35%. So thereby the worry is almost 50% of the commission is going for in the form of taxation only. 18% GST, almost 30 to 32% of income tax of his commission, and here and there some payments to the various things. So thereby almost 50% commission is taken by the government in the form of commission. And this is where the real problem of commission agent, saying that why they when I am earning foreign currency to the government, which is which other software companies also doing in the same way, then why should I given a different treatment? And why should I pay GST at 18%? So that is where the the real and practical problem of the agents. this was challenged before High Court of Gujarat, where they have taken some principles of they have taken constitutional ground, saying that as per the constitution, GST should not have been paid, CGST, SGST should not have been demanded, and thereby this provisions regarding this are unconstitutional. And there are also taken other arguments. So here this judgment, Gujarat High Court decision has not given relief. They told that I think the provisions are constitutional and they are liable for GST at 18%. And so thereby the Gujarat High Court given decision in the favor of department. Now the similar matter was also challenged in the Bombay High Court. In the Mumbai High Court, they have given a contrary decision. That means the same bench, two judges have given different opinions. So sorry, different views. One judge told yes, it is constitutional, they can tax. Another judge told no, it is not constitutional, and they have to they should not tax. So both because there is a conflict of opinion, so their matter was referred to the Chief Justice of India, sorry, Chief Justice of Bombay High Court, and matter is pending before the larger bench of Bombay High Court. So as of now, so thereby this controversy is not resolved yet. Controversy is not resolved yet. So this is another controversy relating to the valuation. The background of this case is this. I think not only AP government, there are other state governments also. There are civil supplies department. They give a paddy. This paddy will be procured from the farmers at minimum MSP and all that, and they give this paddy to the rice millers. So rice millers, what they have to do? They have to give 67% of this rice yield to the civil supplies department. That means once I get a 100 kg of paddy bag, 67% of rice I have to give to the civil supplies. So that means 33% is the expected loss of yield. So the actual yield loss may be more or less. So that is where the problem is. The government says 67% rice you have to give me. What you do it. So thereby, but in the general market they say 61 to 62% only I'll get, 5% yield I have to pay government from my own business. So to this, what government has fixed rates is the milling charges are fixed at rupees 15 rupees per quintal of paddy, and what in this milling process there will be some byproducts like broken rice, husk, and bran and all. So whatever this byproducts comes, so this is economic, it has economic value, and what this agreement centered by the government says that byproducts can be retained by the millers, that need not be returned to the government, and can be retained by the millers and they can be sold off. So they'll make some money out of it. What this all rice millers people have done, they paid GST only on that milling charges received from the government at 5%. So what if you get the byproduct sale, that husk and rice are exempted, whereas bran is liable at GST at 5%. Now the challenge is this: the department told whatever the byproducts you are retained during the process of milling, so that will be additional consideration from the milling activity from the government. So thereby, if this was not, these byproducts were not retained, then you would have got more consideration from your customer. Thereby, you have paid GST on the lower value. So you add this commercial value of byproducts in the taxable value for payment of GST and the billing charges, and you pay GST on that. Well, that also. So for this dispute, what AP High Court has told in case of Shidi Sainath Industries, they told in 2020, they told that when the clause of agreement says clause of agreement do not indicate that byproducts, retention of byproducts is additional consideration. It is only compensation for the bearing yield loss of 6 to 7% while supplying standard yield of 67%. That means, as I was saying, standard yield I have to give 16%. The actual yield may be 60 to 62%. That means extra rice I am giving than what actually comes from the milling. So to compensate that, they are giving the this byproduct thing. So that cannot be considered as a milling charges compensation. So that is where they are told that API could told that GST is not liable to be paid on the commercial value of the byproducts which are retained in the process of milling, and that cannot be considered as an additional consideration for milling activity. Surprisingly, not a surprise also, it was there in the GST provisions, but in the 2021, after 6 months of this decision, the government themselves clarified saying that milling activity is not at all liable for GST because it is a pure service given to the government. Pure service given to the government is exempt from GST even now. So GST is not at all liable. So forget about this additional consideration, non-consideration. So this is another interesting and important development from the one of the High Court decision. So another very interesting and also very I think popular decision in the recent past. There is a Gujarat High Court decision in the context of land deduction under real estate transaction. The background of this decision is this: if you pay GST on the construction and sale of flats or villas, so the notification says GST rate is 18% prior to 1st February, 1st March, 1st April 2019. If it is after that, it is 5%, 7.5%. They told that, but effective rate is 12%. How they says 1/3 will be deducted as the land deduction, and balance 2/3 only you pay at 18%. That means effectively 12%. After 1st April 2019, they say 7.5% is the rate, 1/3 deduction will be there, so effectively 5%. That is how they have given it. Even for 1% also, 1.5% is the effective rate. Effective rate will be 1%. So that means the government said 1/3 would be the land deduction, and that will be deducted from the taxable value, and the balance only will be the taxable value, and you have to pay GST on that. Why they have to deduct land? Because land transactions are not liable for GST as of now, because it is not constitutionally, they are not amended to tax the sale of or transfer of land, because still the state government has power to levy stamp duty or other taxes on the sale of building or land. That's the reason GST is not leviable on that. So that's the reason even Schedule 3 of CGST Act also says that sale of building or land is not liable for GST. So that's the reason when I sell any villa or apartment, there is some land portion, I have to give some deduction. So what government has told, every case there is a 1/3 is the land value, I'm deducting, you are allowed to deduct. The government logic is simple. They are saying across India the average rate of stamp duty is 6% at that time, and so thereby 18%, 6% will constitute 1/3. So 1/3 anyway they are paying, so balance 2/3 will be they have to pay tax at GST under GST. That is what their logic is. So however that will not work in every case. So what was challenged in this High Court decision is that they told that when I have a actual value of land, how government can come and say that I'm deeming that it is 1/3 your is value. More specifically, if you look at metros and major cities, the land component of any apartment or any villa will be at least more than 50%. In some cases, it is 90% also. For example, if you take Mumbai and Delhi or Bangalore or Hyderabad, 80 to 85% will be the land component itself, because land, for example, you take 10,000 as a sale value, how luxurious, how premium you construct the any flat or villa, the land construction cost will not exceed more than 2,500 or 3,000. So the 7,000 will be land component only. So thereby whereas the government only says 1/3, whereas the actuals it may be more than 1/3 most of the cases. So thereby it is indirectly government is collecting GST even on this land component value of the land component. So that is where this problem is there. That is what's challenged before Gujarat High Court, and they have taken the help of various past decision to say that when the actual values are available, government cannot come and force the ad hoc values or deemed deductions. So that is what been challenged, and the High Court also has agreed with this argument. They told that when the actual values are available, don't go to the deemed values, and you give the actual value of the land as a deduction, and pay GST only on the after deduction of the actual value. And to this, government the department has taken an argument in the High Court itself. If that deduction is allowed, it leads to a lot of disputes. Some people may try to inflate the land price for sake of inflating so that they can take GST. For that, what High Court has given a simple solution, saying that, look, boss, you have a Rule 30 of CGST rules, which provides that the minimum value should be the or else at least your any case that taxable value should not exceed should not be less than the cost plus 10%. That means you have a mechanism to reject their valuation, and they say that because you have not taken the correct value, I am taking this value. Thereby you can have an inbuilt mechanism. So your stand is against your own rule. So that was also uh, negated, and High Court told that no, that inbuilt checks were there. And that is the rule 30 and rule 31 as I was mentioning. And they also told that it is not that land value has to be put in somewhere. If it is there in the agreement with the customer, that is sufficient document to say the land value deduction. And they've also told that whatever the construction activity done till the customer come in, that will not be a supply, it will be self-service, and no GST has to be paid till that time. Now we'll move on to the few more decisions, High Court decisions. One is that Kolkata High Court decision in case of LGW Industries, and there are a few more judgments on similar issue, Madras High Court and Kerala High Court, and also other High Court decision, where they are told that whenever you are trying to deny the input credit to the buyer on the premise that the supplier has not paid GST or has not uploaded invoices in GST or 2A, then the first and foremost step is that first you complete the investigation or trace out the supplier. If he is absconding or if he is not traceable, then only you come to the buyer. In the even buyer hands also, you see the genuineness of the transaction and validity of the transaction, and you verify the documents. Don't just simply say that your 2A or 2B ITC is this and your 3B ITC is this. There is a mismatch. You pay GST and don't pass the order. You make all this exercise and book the cases only wherever the ingenuine transactions were there or any fraudulent transactions were there. So this is the directions given by the LGW Industries case by the Kolkata High Court, and similar directions also has come from Madras High Court and Kerala High Court, which can be referred. This is because it's a common issue across India, so these decisions are very relevant and critical. And there is another judgment of Madras High Court in case of ARS Steels and Alloys International Private Limited. The issue is this: in production there will be a normal loss of raw materials and all that. So there is some industries there will be standard normal loss. So what department has told, there is one section 17 subsection 5, there is a clause H where it says goods lost or stolen, destroyed will be ITC will be denied. So that is where they have taken that section and told that whatever the normal loss is there, that is lost. So thereby I don't give the input credit, relying on that section 17 subsection 5. To this, High Court has reacted. Normal loss is different from the loss of the goods. Loss of the goods is different and loss of the goods is different. So normal loss is a business loss and is inherent and inbuilt. So that is different from the loss of the goods itself. So that is where, and there are whatever the past decision under the central excise, they have referred and told that IT6 should not be denied. And followed by there is there is another important judgment by Gujarat High Court, and they are told that wherever recovering of dues from the supplier, you can't block the credit ledger of the buyer. So that is another judgment of Gujarat High Court. And Jyoti Construction judgment also is important. They are told that pre-deposit cannot be made using input as credit ledger, so it has to be paid in cash. However, in my personal view, with due respect to the Honorable High Court, I think this is not well appreciated, the provisions of the GST, because they themselves have given clarification for the payment of dues of old dues from credit ledger. That means the government themselves have given clarification saying that I can use the input credit ledger of GST for payment of service tax or central excise dues. If that is the case, why they cannot use for payment of pre-deposit? And recently there is circular also. Of course, they did not talk about output tax. They told that whatever the dues under GST, they can utilize for the credit ledger can be utilized for it. So of course, the matter is it is this High Court decision. This is another important. Another interesting and very important judgment of Bombay High Court is Godrej's case, when they told that this input tax credit of closing balance of education cess and secondary education cess and Krishi Kalyan says closing balance is eligible for the transit credit and GST, and you can take into credit ledger. The background of the dispute is that initial provisions of GST, they have clearly written that all closing balance eligible, and that somehow department has taken a stand saying that the cess balances which are not specifically converted into GST, so I should not give. So they try to make demands. When they try to make demands, they realize that I think that transition provisions are not sufficient to say that cess is not eligible for the transition. They made some amendments. The amendments also there is some lot of mistakes. So what they did, they not notified fully. They are notified partly. So in this entire process, they lost the case because even the implemented provisions is not sufficient to say that closing balance of education cess and secondary education cess and Krishi Kalyan cess is not eligible for the transition. Is provisions are not sufficient to stand this position. That is where that Mumbai court has interpreted all these provisions and development and held that the provisions which are implemented do not restrict the transfer of closing balance of education cess, secondary education cess, and Krishi Kalyan cess. Hence, the credit cannot be denied. So that is also another important judgment. And of course, the latest judgment anyway we have discussed in the Supreme Court matter decision that relating to tran credit. And there is relating to these are the decisions relating to the refunds where they told that SEZ units also can claim refund under GST. The problem is some cases, some supply to SEZ, though it is zero, any supplies made to the SEZ for authorized operations, it is zero rated, and there should not be any GST on that. So me and me, even chartered account giving service to SEZ units also, they not charge GST on it because it's zero supply. Some suppliers knowingly or unknowingly they charge GST, and SEZ units are developers for their own reasons they are paying GST to supplier. So when they made this, they have applied for refund. Department has taken a stand. No, no, no. You being SEZ unit, you are not eligible for the refund because, excuse me, because only supplier should not charge GST, and he should only go for GST refund. To this, courts have luckily agreed that the provisions in existence are permits both the any person to claim refund. Section 54 starts with the words any person. It is not only one person or only supplier. It can be recipient also. Any person can claim refund. Number one. Number two is that when SEZ supplies also they are doing output supplies of SEZ. That means that is also zero rated. So when that is zero rated, so they can take input credit of refund of input credit. So going by that, the Madras High Court decision is there and Gujarat High Court decision is there. So SEZ units also can claim go for refund. Of course, that the time limit extension for the refunds. There is a corona time from 1st March 2020 to the 28th February 2022. The Supreme Court has given a time extension for various litigation matters. They told that this time limits will be excluded, and whoever has not filed any matters, they can file it after that. They can take this as an exclusion from the time limitation. So when whether this exclusion of time limit, that is extension of time limit, will apply to GST refunds or not, is a question, bone of contention before this all these high courts. Three high courts have told that all this extension will apply for refunds also. Thereby, refund is not time, but so that 2 years has to be excluded. Luckily, government also has given a notification in the recent July. So they are told that from 1st March 2020 to 20th February 2022, that is 2 years time limit will be removed, and that will not be considered as a time limit, and thereby we can get a higher limit. That means from August 2018 refunds also we can file it now, though it is beyond 2 years technically, but because the 2 years was excluded, and we are getting more and more time. So people whoever missed the filing refund claim, they can take the benefit of it and they can file refunds now. And there is another, very interesting judgment of Bombay Court where they told that Circular 125 has come and told that now every refund claims are fully electronic, and you file refunds only online, and no manual application will be filed permitted. And even in field level also, people are not taking manual refunds. Before that 2019 circular, there is permission they are doing it. So to this, their challenge is saying that circular is not, not as per the rule, because Rule 97A, which still in vogue and says that you can file manual filing and processing can be done. So they told that the circular is not correct and it is against the Rule 97A. So that is another important. Whoever has difficulty in filing online, they can approach manual application. So in this decision. Of course, yeah, they also told there is another Gujarat High Court decision in case of household energies. They told when the tax itself was held to be not liable and it is unconstitutional, then there is no question of time limit in the applying for refund. So that is another important judgment. And there is another judgment of Mumbai Court in case of every time overseas private, they told that when the investigation is pending, so department says that I'll withhold your refunds and all that. They told there is no provision under section 54 where it says refund can be withheld when the investigation is going on. Only where there is some demands are outstanding and you are not filed appeal, then only they can withhold, not in all other cases. So that is another judgment. And the other important judgment, which is also recently corrected by the government also, saying that there was some clarification given in the rate change, whether it is an inverted duty or not. They told that they were given a line saying that inverted duty refund will not be available for traders and the same supply goods happens. So which was clarified by the circular, and that line was taken wherever I make a concession supplies. For example, I buy a computers at 18% GST and I make a supply of that computers to defense organization. There is a notification which says what are the supplies made to defense organization for their defense operations. It is liable at 5%. Concession rates were given. So that means though I paid GST at 18% on normal purchase, but my output is 5%. That means there is inversion. So because I'm a trader, the department started denying the refunds, relying on the circular and saying that circular has clarified if it is same supply of goods, supply of same goods, so you don't get inverted duty refund. So they started denying it. When this denial happened, the matter was challenged before three high courts. Three high court has also told that the clarification is contrary to the law and it is not in the context, because the circular clarification was in the different context. They are told that suppose at the time of purchase my rate is 18%. By the time I make a sale, GST rate is reduced because of some rate notification change. It is not because of concession given for particular supplies. So in that context, they told because it's rate change, it is not inversion. That was taken and wrongly applied to this case, and it was found wrong by the high courts. And fortunately, government in the latest 47th council meeting, they clarified saying that that circular clarification is not applicable in the context of output concession rate supplies. That means they are eligible for the inverted duty refund. These are so far we have seen judgments on the refunds. Now we'll see some judgments on the other technical matters. So in this case of Madras High Court, what happened while uploading a GST invoice in the GSR 1, instead of AP code, he has given now UP code. That means instead of Andhra Pradesh, he has given Uttar Pradesh. So thereby that invoice has gone to wrong recipient, and by the time they realize that time limit to rectification was gone. So Madras High Court has told it is only rectification of the number. So you allow it and let them take the credit because it's only technical lapse. And there is another Telangana High Court decision which was also upheld by the Honorable Supreme Court. What happened in this case? There was his e-way bill case. There was a vehicle movement from customer supplier to customer. In between, the e-way bill was expired. The reason for expiry of e-way bill was there was a strike on this some particular road. So, and also there is 1 or 2 days holidays. So because of this, vehicle cannot be did not reach the destination in time. So because by the time the vehicle was expired, so department caught stopped this vehicle and detained, and they levied penalty saying that you did you have wrongly evaded and all that, and they demanded the penalties, and they were again asked for the tax. To this plea taken by the taxpayer is that this is out of my hands because strike and all that I cannot control, and I don't have another choice. I have to wait until that strike is over, and that's the reason it was delayed, and there is followed by holidays. So hence there is no evasion and there is no allegation that I am diverting from one route to another, and my goods are not going in a destination. Correct destination is going in wrong destination. So that is the case. You cannot presume that I have evaded taxes, and I raised every document online and shown it. So to this, Telangana I could told yes, they are right. Tax evasion cannot be presumed in merely on account of e-way bill was expired, and they told that you cannot demand penalties and all. And they also imposed because the officer was not correct in because he has taken all illogical things, and he imposed I think some 10,000 as a cost on the officers because he has not acted diligently. when the matter was reached Supreme Court, surprisingly Supreme Court told they found nothing wrong in Telangana High Court, and they have told that judgment is correct, and because for fair judgment is given, you are unnecessarily litigating, that cost should be increased to 50,000. So they increase the cost of 50,000. So that is the important development in this case. So yeah, another judgment, another important judgment in case of the CA bill related is of Madras High Court. There they told what happened. In some cases also happen. What happens? Temporary premises will be taken for storage or movement by the some businessman. So, for example, in summer season, some this ice cream parlors or the dairy companies, they'll take some extra storage capacity because that is a season for them to move more goods, more quantity. Or in some seasonal festival seasons, they'll move more products. So they require some temporary places. So it is not that that taxpayers are diligent enough to add immediately. Some cases they may miss it. So in this case, that's what happened. They did not add that temporary location as a place of supply, place of business in GST registration. Hence, when goods are moving to that new place of business, that department has got and they told where you are taking and all that. Then they told this is a new place of business, and I already raised a bill showing this new place of business, and I only then the officer told because you have not added this location as a place of business in your GST registration, so it is not eligible, and you should pay penalties, and he has seized the vehicle. So and he has imposed the penalty. So to this, Madras High Court told mere lapse of not adding the place of business is not a lead to any tax evasion, or you cannot penalize them and you cannot detain the vehicle. And if they are able to show that genuine reason of not adding the place of business in the GST registration, don't deny the benefits. So that is another important thing. And is another relating to the investigation. This Mumbai court in case of FSM Education Private Limited, the assessor they have told that the higher management or the the other manager people can be summoned only in the rarest of the rare cases and not for every small thing. You don't ask the managing director of the company to come and explain the accounting entries, because it will be done by the concerned person or the accounting person. So or the concerned person of the finance. So that is one. And another important point also they told is that don't give summons for every routine things. For submission of information, you can ask and give a simple letter, and if they're not responding repeatedly, then you go to the summons stage. Summons, because it is a big serious step, and people may get people may fear, so that summons is a big step, something has gone wrong. So that is how they have given. This is not a new development. It's been there in Central ICAI for quite long, and the government themselves have given 3-4 times circular saying that summons can be given only in exception case. You give only for top management, only exception case. Don't give as a routine and all that. Despite of that, the practice is still there, and it's going to be there. It appears. Yeah, another important point is whatever the actions of the authorities, either freezing of bank account or recovering from credit ledger and all that, they have told that the tax officer should look at trying to help the businessman to continue his business so that he can generate more business. Once he generates more business, the economy will improve. Economy will improve. Automatically, government gets his share. Otherwise, if you come and stop his business by freezing his bank account, by calling his vendor and asking no pay go to government, then it is not advantage to government as well as businessman. That is what they told in this case, because in this case they attached the properties without any sufficient reason. And few more judgments which were given by Madras High Court is that they told the background of this case is this. Before GST, there is a custom duty, and custom duty equivalent to central excise duty on manufactured, as well as custom duty equal to sales tax, that is called a SAD. So when I import, I have to pay basic custom duty, CVD, and SAD. After GST, the CVD SAD was replaced by IGST. So what happened when I import a goods, I have some exporters have the option of taking export concession. That means if I'm importing and using for manufacturing and exporting it, government will give some duty exemptions. Of course, that is condition saying that if you import X price, you have to export so multiple times of export turnover. For example, if you import EPC under EPC scheme, whatever the duty saved under the scheme, that means whatever the duty exemption you have taken, that 6 times or 8 times of the duty saved has to be paid to the government. Not paid to the government. 6 times or 8 times of the duty saved has to be exports should be performed in a 6 years or 8 years. So wherever this obligation is fulfilled, that exemption gets completed. If this obligation is not fulfilled, the exemption earlier given will be withdrawn to the extent of unfulfillment exemption. Export obligation. So once this export obligation is not fulfilled to that extent, whatever the earlier exemption I have taken, I have to pay back. So in this background, what happened? For example, 2015, I have taken this license and I have imported the goods without taking the exemption of custom duty and CVD and SAD. And now I paid back. Now I have not fulfilled the export obligation. I only fulfilled 90%. 10% I failed it. So 10% of earlier exemption I have to pay back to the government in the form of CVD and SAD. So now the question is, if GST was not there, the CVD and SAD what I have paid, I would have got it as a credit and I would have used for my manufactured excise duty on the manufacture. But after GST, because there no CVD and SAD, and once what I get CVD and SAD, as per GST process, I cannot take it as input credit because that is not recognized type of tax to take it as input credit. So that is where the people have applied for refund of that CVD and SAD, saying that if GST was not there, I would have taken credit. Thereby, this GST introduction, I could not take credit. So thereby giving me the refund. And similarly, the case of service tax reverse charge paid now after GST, because service tax also paid now will not be recognized as GST type of credit and will not be given as a credit under GST. So similar to CVD and SAD also, if service tax was live, I would have taken as a credit and I would have utilized it. In that background, all these refunds claims file, and the tax authorities are rejecting, saying that there is no provision for refund and all that. Against this, when matter have gone to tribunals and High Court, tribunals also have told that refund is eligible. And one of the High Court, Madras High Court, in case of Ganges International Private Limited, they invoked the doctrine of necessity, and they told that this doctrine of necessity requires to extend this benefit because that will become remediless. Neither they can go under GST nor under old GST. So that refund is only the option what they have. So invoking doctrine of necessity, they held that refund is eligible. So that is another important judgment and useful judgment for the wherever this kind of old dues paid now under after GST. And another important judgment of Karnataka High Court in case of this hostel use. What happened is I am a landowner. I have a building, and my building I have given to some company, and they are running that company is using it for hostel business. So hostel business anyway till 18th July, because it is less than 1,000 rupees per day, that is exempted and the GST is not liable. So output is exempted in the hands of the hostel company. And as a landlord, when I give rent to the hostel company, should I pay GST or not is the question. To this, there is an exemption entry where it says renting of residential dwelling unit for use as a residence. So their interpretation is when the building was used for the residential building used for residential use is exempted. In this case, hostel company using residential building only for residence of hostel students, thereby our students are the persons, thereby it is the condition is satisfied. So they ask for advance ruling, and both advance ruling authority as well as affiliate advance ruling authority in their style, they told that no, that exemption is not eligible, that exemption is only for the individual families and all, so you don't get exemption. To this matter has gone to Karnataka High Court, and Karnataka High Court has rightly told whether hostel or the normal house, it is a residence, and it is eligible for the exemption. That means the building owner is also is exempted from GST on the building rents received from the hostel company. That is Karnataka High Court decision. And there's another judgment of Madras High Court in case of Greenwood owners. is that there is a exemption given for the residential associations wherever their per month contribution is less than 7,500. So the wording of notification is says you are eligible for the exemption up to 7,500 per month. So because it says up to 7,500 per month, so their interpretation is if I collect 9,000 rupees for my member of the apartment or the gated community, so that means up to 7,500 is exempted. So I am only liable for 5,500 because in excess of 7,500 and I am liable. So that is the interpretation was taken, which was accepted by Madras High Court. So however, now matter is before division bench, we have to see. Then followed by the Telangana High Court decision in case of deemed distributors private limited. They told that recovery in the stage of investigation, don't do it. It is fully arbitrary and without jurisdiction. And you can't force taxpayer. It was explained in the Swiggy case. The same principle they also explained in this case of deemed distributors. And another, interesting judgment of Telangana High Court decision in case of golden mesh industries. What is this, gist of judgment is that there is section 62 and 63, where it says either non-filers of GST returns, if they don't file return after giving notice in form 3A, so the department person can proceed for the best judgment assessment based on the data available. What this in this case department officer has done, he has taken the last file return turnover and he has multiplied the 3 times. That means if I show 10 lakhs in the last month, this month return if I did not file, he has taken 30 lakhs as turnover for this month and he has demanded tax, interest and 100% penalty. So then that matter was gone to High Court and High Court told there is no basis to take 3 months, 3 times of the turnover as a best judgment assessment. The best judgment assessment is not ad hoc assessment or arbitrary assessment, or it is wishful thinking of the taxpayer, tax officer. There should be some evidence either from, he can take a document from banker, bank statement, or he can take a GST one of these file you have taken, or you would have studied the trend of that particular industry growth, or you would have taken the how the business is going in the last 2-3 years of that particular taxpayer. All this precaution should have done, and without that, is simply multiplied 3 times and impose 100% penalty is fully arbitrary and contrary to GST provision. That is what has been held by the Golden Telangana High Court in case of Golden Mesh Industries. And another judgment of Madhya Pradesh High Court in case of Kanishka Mata case is that in the seizure cases they can also seize the cash and money because it is also property. So earlier there is one interpretation saying that cash and money cannot be seized during the investigation, but the provision says property, any property, cash and money is also property, they can seize it under section 67. So followed by another judgment of Madras as well as the Gujarat High Court, where they are told that wherever department try to take escape of saying that my portal do not allow and there are some technical glitches. In that case, they are told that what is eligible legitimate benefit of the taxpayer cannot be denied. Taking the excuse of portal glitches or technical glitches, you should extend either by rectifying the dispute glitch or process through manual. So that's what another judgment of Gujarat High Court. They told portal developed by government cannot be contrary to the law. And of course, another judgment of Otherland Global, which was clarified by circular also. They told that exempted services or goods also eligible for the refund if they exported. If they exported, whether it is exempted or not exempted, both are eligible for the refund of taxes. Another judgment of Gujarat High Court in the context of service tax is that subsidy company and holding company will be different legal entities. They will not be treated as a merely establishment because they say merely establishment that will not be treated as an export of services. They may have to pay GST on that. That is what they interpreted. Told them they are not merely establishment. Then separate legal entities were formed that will be export of services and the refunds will be eligible. And another judgment of Telangana High Court in context of service tax, they told the government entities are not business entities, so you can't say that they'll be involved in the fraud cases or they'll be involved in the willful misstatements and all that. You don't invoke the extended period of limitation and also invoke the 100% penalty. So there is a routine case of department to impose 100% penalty on the government of organizations also. This that case there is a national remote sensing agency where the scientist will be involved, and there is only administrative charges. They ask for GST, a service tax, and they're saying that the government officers are fraudulently avoiding taxes. The logic is that whatever the taxes they have to pay, they have to again get from the same government, and they don't save anything to the employees or the persons who are working there. So that is the basic logic which government department always miss conveniently. And another judgment of Delhi High Court in case of Gian International is that they told, as per GST provisions, once refund application is filed, deficiency memo can be given only within 15 days. If it is any deficiency memo given after 15 days, it is invalid and it as good as it is non-existing law. And another judgment of Allahabad High Court in case of Bharat Mint and Allied Chemicals is that they told that whether the taxpayer has asked for the hearing or not, before passing order, the hearing has to be given, and then only order has to be passed, because this was based on the wordings of section 75, because it says when it was asked or it was adverse order is contemplated, you should give a hearing opportunity. And there are very interesting and important judgment of Madras High Court in 2-3 judgments. It was told is that what happened when the GST registration was cancelled. The normal procedure is apply for revocation, but it comes with some time limit. That time limit is 90 days. 90 days only I have to make a revocation application, and the 90 days is gone, then revocation procedure I cannot do it, because portal also do not allow that. So what High Court has in their extraordinary jurisdiction under Article 226 of the Constitution, they invoke and they told that if registration is not revoked, their business will come to standstill, and the right to carry business will be deprived. So they have invoked and told that. So to extend that thing, and also government also do not want any businessman to stop the business and stop the payment of GSTs, and it will be against the basic objective of GST. They told that okay, we in our extraordinary jurisdiction, we are extending this opportunity to the taxpayers whoever registration has been cancelled and they could not revoke it in 90 days. So they have given some directions to be followed while revoking their registration, cancelled registration. And there is another recent judgment of Supreme Court. They are told where this bill was filed by public interest litigation was filed by the one of the chartered accountant in before Supreme Court, where he is saying that there was a document identification number being implemented by central government in all tax related matters. The same care should be followed by the state government also, so that it will increase transparency and conformity in the indirect tax administration. And already 2 states, Kerala and Karnataka, have been implementing. So why not other states? That is what the plea made by the Pradeep Goyal before Supreme Court, which was accepted by the Supreme Court, and they directed the government to give necessary instructions. And following this, I think Andhra government has started given this instructions to say that DIN has to be followed, and without DIN, whatever the communication is there, it is invalid and unjust in law. And there are a few more judgments which are under service tax or other pre-GST laws, but important for GST also. That is one of them. One among them is the Supreme Court decision case of Northern Operating System, where they have discussed about the secondment employees case between the foreign company and Indian company. They have discussed various terms of the agreement. They told that the terms of agreement suggest that the employer, foreign overseas employer, is continued to be employer even after the secondment into Indian company. Thereby, the amount whatever they paid to the employee which are seconded into Indian company will be service received from the foreign company, and it will be manpower supply, and the Indian company has to pay under reverse charge. Same rationale will apply to the GST also, but be careful. It all depends on how we word the terms of the agreement. If the control and supervision and is with the Indian company, we can still say that it is employer will be continued to be Indian company, thereby employee to employer transaction are not liable for GST. Whereas if the control and supervision is made by the continued by the foreign company, it may be not an employment contract. You may have to pay GST under reverse charge and take credit, of course. Another important judgment of Supreme Court in context of service tax, which is again relevant for GST also, there is a exemption for job work nature, and there is no exemption for the manpower supply. So they're taken a plea. My terms of the contract is job work, so I should be getting exempted. And to this, the Supreme Court has analyzed the various clauses of the agreement. They told that the agreement of clause do not suggest that it is job work, because if it is job work, the agreement should be for doing a particular work. If it is agreement is doing for a particular work, it should explain the what is the nature of process of work to be carried out, what is the quality expected, or what is the infrastructure to be considered while performing that work, and what is the delivery schedule of that work, and how that work has to be specified and all that, and what are the consequences of that work was not performed as per that. If all this were there, then only it will be considered as a contract for work. Otherwise, it is only contract for supply of labor, and it is a pure manpower supply, and will not be eligible for the exemption. That is what they are told in this case, Adira's Manpower Services Private Limited, by Supreme Court in the last 3 months back. And there is another important judgment which was in the context of VAT laws. What VAT department has done in some states is that they've extended the assessment and reassessment time limits after 2016 period, because 2016 the constitution was amended to say that GST will be introduced, and till that GST comes, the existing VAT will apply. So within 1 year, the higher the umbrella time limit of 1 year, sunset clause of 1 year. So there the courts have taken interpretation saying that once post 101 Constitutional Amendment 2016, the state government do not have constitutional power to amend or extend any time limits under VAT law. So thereby the amendment made by the Gujarat government, or the Telangana government, or the Kerala government has been struck down by the all high court, respective high courts, saying that you do not the power to increase the time limit of assessment or reassessment after the post constitutional amendment 2016. So thereby whatever the assessment done after that, all these cases, the standard they increased from 4 years to 6 years, so that whatever the increased time limit will not apply, and then once it is time bar, it is time bar. And the few more judgments under service tax, which is relevant for GST also. This is relevant under this is coming from the IBC provisions. Where they are told that whatever the NCLT order under IBC law is full and final settlement of the dues under IBC, and that will have override effect on any other law. So thereby, the GST department is not entitled to recover any extra amount than what was mentioned in the resolution plan as approved by the NCLT, and any amount was appropriated or any adjusted in the past, they have to refund back to the corporate debtor. That is what the Bombay Court and Orissa High Court decision says. And there is another judgment. Of course, this is not completely relevant for GST, but this what department has done in the service tax provision. There is no provision for the recovery of service tax complete dues from the director in personal capacity. Whereas in GST, that provision was there. If it is, his involvement is there in that division. So they invoke GST provision. They told that because I'm recovering service tax after GST, I invoke GST provision. That is was turned down by the Delhi High Court, and they told that recovery of service tax dues from this director is not permissible under the service tax law. Thereby, you can't recover it even if you apply GST provisions. It is only GST provision is there. You can recover only GST dues under GST law. And followed by another judgment of Madras record, very interesting judgment, Madurai Kamaraj University. Of course, it was further explained by the Gujarat High Court in another case, which citation I have not given here. Their department case is that they are told there is exemption for the service tax on GST on the education given by the colleges or schools. So the case was made against by the university, saying that whatever the affiliation fee you are collecting, or exam fees you are collecting, or entrance fee you are collecting, it is not covered because you are not giving education, and you have to pay GST or service tax on it. Against this, when it was challenged, finally Madras High Court and Gujarat High Court further explained that what university is doing is also education. Don't limit education to the classroom. Education starts from the design of the courses, curriculum, exam paper, admissions, and conduct of the syllabus, periodical exams, and giving awarding of marks as well as certificates. The entire cycle gets completed only then only it is education. And here universities along with colleges are performing the education. Some part universities are doing, some parts education colleges were doing. So thereby universities are also exempted from GST. That is the Madurai Kamaraj University, and there is another judgment of Gujarat High Court also. Another judgment on service tax is TV Sundaram Iyengar Sons of Madras High Court, where they are told that discount received is not a promotion service, it is price reduction and is not liable to service tax, which is equally applicable for GST also. In GST also, the department tried with the initial circular saying that that is promotional service, you pay GST, but later when many people are opposed it, government themselves have withdrawn that circular 105 and in the 2020. So followed by another judgment, of course, latestly this circular also has come. Whatever the notice pay recovery is made for pre-termination of employment, pre-termination of employment agreement is not liable to service tax because it is only early termination. It is no service in it, and which was latestly clarified by the government also in the circular number 178. With this, I end my presentation. Hope I am clear, and I request the participant any doubts in either the topics covered in presentation or any other points which I missed to cover in my presentation. You please raise. I'm very happy to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your excellent presentation, sir, and case studies. We'll wait for audience questions if any. I've unmuted everyone, so they can also unmute and ask if there is any, and or else they can post the questions in questions panel, or else they can post it to SIRCCP mail ID, so that can be shared with you later. So presentation will be shared with us for circulation rates.
Mr. Venkat, it's a brilliant session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Sir. Questions, if any, can be posted.
Any questions have come in Excel?
No, sir. Actually, questions. Actually, 1 minute, sir. Just check it up. You can see the chat box, complimentary messages, and they are requesting for presentations, which can be, once it is shared, we can share it as a PPT or a PDF file to the audience. Actually, there's no specific question because it seems to be pretty clear. 1 minute, sir. Let me check if there is. There's one question. I'll just read it out, sir. Like, please touch upon liquidated damages captured in contract as per recent circular. Is this taxable or not?
Yeah, I think they also clarified in the latest chapter also, they clarified liquid damages are not liable for service tax or GST because it is do not constitute a consideration for the any service. It is only recovery of the damages what have been suffered. If any further elaboration is required, I'll do it. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
no, that came up in the chat box actually. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that came up in the chat box actually. 1 minute. There is another question, sir. What is the current status of RCM on ocean freight? Whether any review petition filed by the government?
Yeah, it appears they have filed review petition and it's pending before Supreme Court.
We'll just wait for 1 minute, sir, and then we'll wind up the session.
Okay. Can I elaborate the question that I asked on the liquidated damages?
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, my question is actually, when I said it is actually captured in the contract, what I meant is, should that be regarded as, for example, there is a facility of the service given by by one party to another party. So then, as per the recent circular, I think para number 9 says, if this is a more of arrangement facility, meaning typically they cited a lot of service provider companies like telecom and so on, where this is common. for example, if you pay a couple of days late, they will naturally collect some late payment charges from you. So which is clearly evident there is a facility, so it is regarded as a service, so GST is actually applicable on it, isn't it? So my point is, because when you read para 7 of the circular, it touches very many things. One thing that is becoming clear is that if it is stated in the contract as a facility, then should that be invoked as a taxable incident? Because the circular is very clear whether that charge is for tolerance or non-tolerance. So categorically they are making it. But should I construe when liquidated damages clause is captured in the contract, it sounds like it extends the facility, then should that be a taxable in nature, or could we say it is still intolerance in nature? So please share your mind.
Yeah, see, to my mind, so it is liquid damages. There is a difference in saying that I am taking this money, to condone the breach. Liquid damage all along, it is only to condone the breach of the contract. Nobody will agree for breach of the contract. It is only to condone the some errors, because it is quite possible that in practice, practical things, there may be some breaches may be possible. So nobody will agree for breaching of the agreement. It is only that in case of eventuality, which is also uncertain, if that is there, I'll be, this is because I suffer damages. Whereas in case of telecom companies and late payment, there is no damage except for that late payment of consideration. Whereas in normal breach of contract or late performance of the contract, the entire business get affected, because it is not only payment, it is also the performance of the contract. For example, I enter a contract with my contractor saying that you construct the factory building by the end of this December, and so that my plan for production in the next financial year. So if we don't complete the construction by this end of financial year and don't give the building, so don't give the factory, so my production plans are getting deferred. My production plans are getting deferred. There is a lot of problems in the either vendor procurement or the my business economics. So thereby this is a damages which is coming from the non-performance of the contract. Whereas in case of late payment and all that, it is only simple case of financial deferment. So in my view, liquid damage is always for the breach of the contract. Damage will be claimed for the breach and the loss caused due to the non-performance or the breach of the contract. And even if you go by the Contract Act also, there is a difference in saying that the consideration or quid pro quo for the contract, and there are damages for the contract, breach of the contract. So what is covered for GST is only the first case, that is quid pro quo or the consideration for performance of the contract, not the damages which are covered separately under section 74 or 75 of the Indian Contract Act for breach of the contract. The damages are not to nobody will claim damages for permitting to continue the breach. It is only to the breach has happened, there is some damage to me, so you so what you call reimburse or the compensate for that damage. That is not for accepting that mistake. Just because I accepted, just because I said okay, I collect some damage charges, and that means that doesn't mean that I'm accepting that your mistake is fine and I am nullifying your mistake. Mistake is mistake, breach is breach, but only I am nullifying the damage caused to breach because of breach.
Understand. Thank you for that, because I find there is a thin line of distinction we need to make by reading through the contract in spirit of when will I really charge for the damage and things like that.
Yes, that's the point we can indicate. Whether this damage for the breach of the contract or the performance of the.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So those were the questions, sir. And if there's no more questions, we can wind up the session, sir. So Bharat sir, over to you.
Fine.
Thank you, Venkat garu. Thank you very much for your excellent and elaborative presentation on case laws on GST. almost exactly 2.5 hours. You have touched almost all the latest case laws. Thank you very much once again. And SIRCs are going to organize a 5 days workshop on GST in the month of October. So I request you to join as a resource person on physically in Chennai under the GST committee are going to organize say a series of workshops for 5 days. Rajan Kumar sir is the GST committee chairman in ICAI. So under his guidance, we are going to organize the program. I request you once again, please kindly join as a resource person. I will share the topic also for you. And thank you once again. Thank you.
Hope you'll be giving my introduction again.
Thank you. Sure, definitely I will be there.
Thank you, sir.
I thank all the participants for their active participation, and I once again thank Subbara Garu for your nice and brief introduction of me. And I also thank Chairman Mastan sir, Chinnamastan Garu, and the other members of the SIRC. Thank you all.
Thank you also. Thank you.